Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
You're listening to TFG Cricket.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to the TFG Fantasy Cricket Podcast. My name is Nikhil, and today we'll be discussing two matches from fantasy perspective. One is the Big Bash League clash between Brisbane Heat and Melbourne Renegades, and other one would be South Africa versus Sri Lanka, the first T20 that is happening in
South Africa. T20 is happening in Centurion.
Okay. That
Nikhil, you always put me on the spot.
I mean, just to wake you up. You're
yes.
So the voice was of Vivek Krishna. He is our fantasy pundit. So first we'll touch upon the Big Bash match. Brisbane Heat versus Melbourne Renegades. Brendan McCullum is back. Josh Lalor is back. Brendan McCullum, what a relief for them.
Huge. They obviously missed him in the last game. Obviously, it didn't affect them, but you need somebody of McCullum's presence on the field with the bat.
Yeah.
So it's a big plus, huge positive.
You know, he is that kind of a player where even if he doesn't score, but his presence in the team will make opponent think like,
absolutely.
Boss.
So when he opens the batting, he might get out for a 0 or he might score under 10, he might get a 60, but still as opposition, as bowlers, you're like, okay, I need to be very disciplined. If I'm not going to get him out in the next 5 or 6 overs, he's going to run away with the game. All sorts of fear, crosses your mind. So this is fantastic, especially given the fact that Chrislin is not available.
Yeah.
He's still out with neck injury.
Yeah.
So McCullum obviously a huge figure at the top of the order, and if they have to end up winning the tournament, I think a few breezy knocks are required from the former Kiwi captain.
I just want to touch upon this point of Brisbane Heat. You know, in the last match, I think you had Alex Ross or Joe Burns. There was something that was going in between you and the other fantasy player who was just behind you by points,
yes.
and you won it in the last over. What was that? Can you just define?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was one, and obviously the number 2 was breathing down my neck, and he had Alex Ross, I had Joe Burns, and it got to a situation where they needed just about 30-35 runs, and both these guys were batting, and I was already about a point and a bit ahead of him, I think.
Yeah.
And very quickly there was a situation when Alex Ross got 2 boundaries in a row, and then obviously I was trailing. And it went to the last 2 overs, and had Joe Burns not struck that 2 sixes, I think it was off Ben. I don't know it. I think I'm not too sure about the bowler, but he hit 2 in 2. I think it was Clint Mackay, if I'm not wrong. And because of which I obviously went ahead, and then he just clobbered in the last over, so I ended up winning by a handsome margin. But that's how close it can get in these Big Bash matches, and it really boils down to a few boundaries here and there, especially if you pick somebody of similar nature. For example, Joe Burns, Alex Ross, similar kind of batsmen. They bat number 4 and 5, so you could get into a situation with number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just have to hope that your batsman ends up scoring that 1 extra run or 1 extra boundary.
So today you will consider him again in your team?
Yes and no, I'm not too sure, Nikhil. I think after Brendan McCullum, now that Brendan McCullum is back, I think he obviously takes the first place. There is Aaron Finch, obviously Marcus Harris, then you have all-rounders in Thisara Pereira, you have Jack Wildermuth, Swepson, Sunil
Thisara Pereira.
Pereira.
Let's touch upon this guy. I mean, when you pick him, he doesn't perform. When you don't pick him, he performs like anything.
He rips us apart completely. Yes. He can take us from 1 to 10 in no time.
Yes.
And yes, so for all the listeners out there, so we in our office, we played without Thisara Pereira that day, and we were all on top. I think
13th over, I guess.
Yes, 13th over he hadn't come on to bowl,
Yeah.
and we were hoping he wouldn't pick wickets, but obviously our wishes were not granted, and Thisara Pereira picked up 3-4 wickets in no time. And I often feel, Nikhil, he's that type of a bowler who is not supposed to pick wickets at all, because his bowling is very predictable. There is a similar length, you know where it is coming, but still the situation was that the batsmen had to go for runs, and they were trying to slog. Unfortunately, they were finding the fielders, and I think Thisara Pereira got lucky.
Okay.
So whoever won, I mean, good luck to them. But pick him or not, I think you still have to go with him purely because, look, he bowls those 4 overs, Nikhil.
Yeah.
He's somebody like a James Faulkner. These guys are wicket-taking bowlers. Obviously, they don't bowl those balls, but one way or the other, they pick up wickets,
But I'll tell
and
you,
they hurt you.
when he's really helpful is when when Melbourne Renegades put up a very big score on the scoreboard and then comes on to ball, because the batsman will go after him, he puts in the wrong, the slower ball.
I'll tell you, Adelaide strikers lost it, I think, from Brad Hodge was the first victim, if I'm not wrong. He was bowled and he dragged a very slow ball onto his stumps. And I think if you measure Thisara Perera, if you wait in your crease, you know it is going to be a slower ball. You know it's going to be on length just outside off. Just stand and whack him, man. That 1 over 25, Thisara would have not bowled for the rest of the innings. So these things happen.
That's what the thing is. If there is a huge score on the board, it becomes even difficult to handle this kind of bowlers. That's where even James Faulkner is very difficult.
Very dangerous, man. Yes.
So would you risk him?
I think so because obviously there is a backing of Sunil Narine also in the bowling lineup. Then you talk about Swepson, then you talk about Steketee. All these guys are there. There would be one, either Alex Ross or Joe Burns in the team. I'm not too sure. I think probably we would go for Alex Ross because he bats a little higher.
Okay, your fantasy 11 for this?
I already mentioned. I said spoke about the all-rounders. Perera, Jack Wildermuth, Sunil Narine, Swepson is there, Steketee is there. Keeper has to be Pearson, then Aaron Finch, Alex Ross, Marcus Harris, and that's pretty much.
So you're missing out on Tom Cooper.
Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Tom Cooper. Yeah. Tom Cooper fills the all-rounder slot.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom Cooper. Again, we are forced to pick him because he bowls those innocuous deliveries. He gets wickets, I think first over, third over, and these days he's also batting well. So why not? Okay. You don't want to lose because of a silly mistake, Nikhil. That always hurts, because fantasy is such that you can't only judge someone on talent and technique alone. Because some undeserving players give valid points. So you have to take it at the end of the day. And
Aaron Finch is the common captain?
Aaron Finch. Yes, you have to pick him, right, Nikhil? You can't ignore him. All-rounder again, maybe Ben Cooper. I don't know. I'm not playing with Cameron White this time. I'm surely not playing with him. But I think so, yeah. Captain is fixed for sure.
Okay. Moving on to the next match of the first T20 between South Africa and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka had a very horrible. It's a very horrible tour for them. Okay, hope they turn out some good numbers in the T20. But the players are very unknown. And why is that? I mean, both the teams are fielding players from their A side. Almost A side. Yeah.
Sri Lanka, yes, they're trying to give exposure to the next crop of players. Obviously, you have Dinesh Chandimal, you have Angelo Matthews in that side. But there are a lot of youngsters, people who haven't actually played T20 cricket. But obviously, there are so many leagues happening around the world. The domestic cricket, has taken off in Sri Lanka. So you see these guys coming onto the international scene. And so is the case with South Africa. South Africa, in my opinion, it's a mess. It is a mess. There is so much happening in South Africa. Quota problem, Kolpak problem, Rand problem. People are not ready to represent their nation. They have so many issues, man. Some people just don't want to play test match cricket. They are only happy playing IPL cricket. And I'm talking about the real leaders of the game. So it is such a tragedy. But still, if you look at the ICC ratings, T20, 1 day or 50 over, they are in the top 3.
Yeah.
Just remarkable effort, man, given the problems they have. And owing to which, the kind of squad they have released, I think out of 13 or 14 players, 8, 9, 10
6
are
new
from
caps.
6 potential new caps.
Yep.
All these guys are straight from Ram Slam. And you look at some of these names, Andile Felukwayo, you look at John Smarts, who will open the batting, who could also open the bowling. You look at Wayne Parnell, you look at some of these Aaron Fangizos, Imran Tahir, obviously.
Haino Kuhn.
Sorry?
Haino Kuhn.
Oh yeah, Haino Kuhn. Yeah. The wicketkeeper batsman from Titans. Yes, he might open the batting as well with John Smarts. Then you have Fahan Biadin, the new captain. David Miller should bat number 4 in my opinion. But I'll
tell you what, even if we look at the Sri Lankan squad,
then
most
there is
of the players,
Dane Patterson in there. The Cobras bowler.
Even if you look at the Sri Lankan squad, most of the players are at least known. You can.
Suranga Lakmal, Dinesh Chandimal, Angelo Matthews. You also know a bit of Kusal Mendes.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you look at the makeup of their team, for example, Sachit Patiratna, you look at so many other guys. It's you don't know what these guys. I think Sikuke Prasanna is in there as well. You don't know. I think Dhananjay De Silva, he might be asked to open the innings. You don't know. So there's a lot of uncertainty going around in the camp. Obviously, we are going to be there to help you. Like always, we will write our analysis and we'll tell you why you should pick someone and why you should not pick someone.
Okay. So at this point in time, are you ready with your fantasy?
No. But the match starts at 9:30, I presume,
IST.
Indian time.
Yeah.
Yes. So we still have about 10 hours to go for the match, and we'll get you just in nick. But what I can tell you is, if you have played Ram Slam or if you have watched Ram Slam, take clues from there, obviously. But again, I have to caution you, don't go by these leading previews, of all these daily websites, because they can be misleading. Not to say that we give you 100% accurate information, but we try to we get as near as possible, as you must have found out in the recent T20 tournaments. So that's our advice. Pick more of South African players as compared to the Sri Lankans, because they might not be used to the conditions. And South African team is also very, very versatile, Nikhil. Suddenly, for example, John Smuts, he could end up opening the bowling. He could end up opening the batting. Somebody
He's
like
the leading
Wayne Parnell could open the batting, because he did exactly the same thing in Ram Slam. So there are a lot of surprises. Andile Felukwayo could bat up the order. Imran Tahir, Aaron Fangiso. I don't know who will be their leading spinner. The situation is very, very tight. I think Imran Tahir should get the go ahead. But funny things happen in the game.
Right, guys. You can read all our articles on fantasy cricket at thefangarage.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. At Twitter at TFG Fantasy 11, on Facebook as Fantasy Pundit. You can listen to our podcast on major podcasting platforms like IndusVox Media, SoundCloud, iTunes, Audio Boom, and obviously on YouTube. Do subscribe, share, like, and comment. Till then, keep hunting.
Our podcasts bring all the boys to the yard, and damn right, they're better than yours. But you don't need to stand outside in the yard. Just follow IVM Podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We might be on Tinder too. Just go ahead and swipe right.